You must have lots of brains to subscribe on to Geek Legion of Doom.
Zombie Sluts. Or to give it its full name, Zombie Sluts Strip Club Slaughterhouse. This one is written and directed by Robbie Lopez and stars Jessa Flux, who are a name we've seen a few times in these kind of low budget, sleazy horror flicks. So what's this one about? Well, Jessa Flux is a stripper in a strip club, and she is bitten on the way to work by a strange looking cat. And when she's at the strip club, she starts to feel ill and ultimately turns into a zombie, thus infecting everyone else, and carnage ensues. It's no more complicated than that. Basically, it's strippers getting turned into zombies and attacking the patrons. That's the film. Okay, let's talk about it. What works? Now, this is an ultra low budget movie. It was crowdfunded as far as I can tell. And yeah, it's a pretty simple premise, one must be said. There's not really any actual story to it, it has to be said, but if you just want an uncomplicated zombie massacre, here it is. The second half of the film is effectively just kind of zombies attacking people, and with kind of some comedic elements to it as well. But can we give any specifics in regards to what does work? I do think there are a couple of funny moments. There's a scene where they're kind of going through all the rules of the kind of the strip club and things like that, and you have the POV of various different kind of people saying it, including Jessa Flux among others. I thought it was quite fun. There's a couple of kind of fun lines here and there, and it has this kind of like over the top absurdity running through the whole film. It's obviously like a somewhat schlocky camp movie in some ways, never taking itself too seriously. And you can kind of somewhat laugh at the... I mean, this is a negative as well, to be honest with you. But you can kind of laugh at the low-budget production. Like, the interior of this strip club is... I don't know what the word is in America, to be honest. But it's basically bin liners, like, put up on the wall to make out this kind of, like, this sort of plastic sort of black, like, lining kind of thing all around the whole kind of... It looks like they've just kind of like put bin liners up all over it in a room and put a pole in and said, "Here's your strip club." It's quite funny. It looks so cheap and tacky. And it is, and that is a negative, but it's also kind of like almost endearingly crap, to be honest with you. In a movie like this, of course, there's lots of scantily clad women. You know, we see a few kind of dances and stuff towards the beginning of the movie. Of Jessa Flux, of course, is becoming quite the scream queen. Although I didn't really feel like she was the kind of like a particularly prominent character in this movie. Not that the movie really has characters exactly, but she's probably the most recognisable name here, and it doesn't seem to be on camera all that much, it must be said. It's, I mean, there's some inventive kind of makeup. The makeup is kind of low budget. I do think, you know, if you can kind of look, you can see some fairly sort of fun zombie effects. But this will bring me to what doesn't work. I think there are some fun zombie effects in there, but there's also some crappy ones. And I have to say, the more complicated zombie masks and makeup, I don't know, they just seem to kind of like be milling around in the background. I never really feel like we got a particularly sort of decent look at anything in regards to sort of prosthetics. Which leads me on to the next problem. That is, the quality of this movie is so varied. Now, I watched this on a streaming service called Foursome, so it's possible that it might have been an issue with this. But the quality of the footage is so varied, as in that sometimes it's fine, sometimes the quality of the footage is just poor. I don't know for sure if it was filmed like that or if it just happens to be the upload that was on the streaming service, but I don't know why it would just flip from one kind of like, you know, poorly kind of shot film in regards to quality. The quality of the kind of the shots are quite poor, like low res. Sometimes it looks like a bit like low res or just I mean, they have this kind of like they do try and have like this filter that gives it this kind of like, you know, film grain type thing. But I think sometimes the film or the actual camera just isn't very good. That's what it looks like. So the quality of the film here just isn't poor. There's a couple of sequences where you will see people like knock the tripod and the camera kind of jerks like this, and it just looks like the Lopez's direction is more or less just put the camera down and say people, right, you know, attack each other. That's kind of what it looks like. So it does really look like that there's not much direction going on. Let me put it like that. Couple that with what looks to be like some less than quality equipment being used and less than quality script, if we can call it that. Because I have to be honest, there isn't really a script to this. It's just a sort of, I mean, even the scene where Jessa Flux's character gets bitten by a cat is done like in a kind of rudimentary animated style. There's a couple of animated scenes here, which I think are like the externals, like to meant to be like the external shots and things like this, purely because they, I guess, can't have the actors go out on the street. It's just in this one room, so the live action stuff is just in one room. So it's like, it looks like it's a really quick production and just kind of like, probably done in a day or something like that. I almost wonder if this was like a tax write-off, I have to be honest with you. But anyway, but yeah, it's a very, very quick production. There's little to no story in this. It's just zombies go crazy in a nightclub or a strip club. That's it. That is it. And people fight back. That is literally the story. There's no one gets an actual character. We don't really follow anyone. Again, I don't expect a movie like this to have like, you know, particularly sort of deep characters or anything, but it's just, you know, the barest semblance of a story might have been, you know, might have been appreciated. I don't think it's even as kind of as sort of sleazy as it possibly. I mean, there's definitely an element of sleaze there. It is in a strip club, but you know, it almost feels like they could have gone further with it to a degree. Again, it seems like a sort of go one way or the other. It isn't particularly sort of like, as I said, the gore is very very rudimentary sort of practical VFX. For the most part, I think it's quite, you know, doesn't look good. The blood looks like orange, for example, things like this. And it's a kind of one-joke film, to be honest. You know, it's something it's probably a film you can have on in the background and just kind of glance at, because it does not require attention. This film, you know, the kind of the animated sequences stick out as sort of unnecessary, I have to be honest, and sort of they're done in such a sort of poor quality. Again, and even like the different people doing the voices and things, I don't know, it doesn't really work, I have to say. I mean, look, you might like just a silly schlocky BB, but I have to say this kind of feels like we'll just shoot something. I've done it, you know, we've got this kind of budget for the film. Let's just bang something out. It doesn't really have to kind of really look too much. And I had a look on the Indiegogo page, and there's lots of kind of like art, and there's comic books, and there's like AI sort of, you know, images of like the concept and stuff. None of that looks as good as, you know, none of the actual film looks as good as these kind of like depictions of what basically was kind of promised here. These like, they're way over promises in these kind of like either the art or the kind of like these like AI photos or comics stuff. Nothing in the movie looks anywhere near as kind of good as that. It's just ultimately a very throwaway sort of like bit of junk cinema. Again, it's probably amusing for some just to kind of have it on the background. It does lend itself to just some like crazy B-movie shenanigans, but I think this is a film which to me seems like it's had lack of experience, lack of budget, and just lack of vision. and probably time as well. And as such, it just seems like a really rushed out piece of trash cinema that I don't think is as fun as it could have been by any stretch. I'll give it a 3 out of 10. What are your thoughts? If you have seen it, please do let me know, and I shall look forward to seeing you next time.
You have the Jimmy Smiths, you stinky bastard!